recording. So, good evening, teacher. Teacher Anaí Arambula. We are thankful to have you here to be able for you to give us some of your time so we can get our schoolwork done. As you can see, I'm here accompanied by my four teammates, that being Emilia Saraí, Sebastián Zavala, Jose Martinez, y Axel Najero, and yours truly, Carlos Beltran. We're here to just
Thank you.
ask you a set of questions, basically that encapsulates your whole experience as a teacher and also as well as a foreigner in other countries and experiences you had teaching in other countries and overall some opinions. Before we start, though, obviously we'd like for you to give us a little introduction. Don't worry, you don't have to make it very extensively. Just present yourself, please.
Okay. Okay, well, my name is Anaya Arambula Barraza. I am from Durango City and I study my BA in Facultad de Lenguas whenever the name it was Escuela de Lenguas still. I'm a graduate from the sixth generation from there. Then I study my master's in UNID, is a master's in education also. And then now, currently, I'm studying my doctorate in Ciencias de la Educación also en la Universidad Autónoma de Coahuila. And I've been working different places, but the place that I loved and I still currently love the most is Facultad de Lenguas because being a graduate is an honor to keep on being in there. You know, I never actually went out of Escuela de Lenguas. I stood there and I still there. Um, I had been, well, I thought I had the chance to do mobility whenever I was in seventh semester, and I did my mobility to South Korea. I lived in Seoul for a semester, and there I applied for an scholarship in which I got the chance to teach Spanish to native Korean people. And I was teaching Spanish to foreigners. And well, I went there. I also had the chance to volunteer. You know, right now I'm in a mestizo. Whenever I was in Korea, I volunteered as a staff in Kotiso, which is the TISO from Korea. The same thing, but in Korea. So far, I think that's what you may need for the questions maybe that you're going to be asking.
All right, thank you so much. That is quite an impressive resume you got there. Like wow, that
Thank you.
obviously we were expecting quite a lot of experience, but personally I was not expecting that much of experience. All right, so hey,
Thank you.
congratulations. It truly is hard work all that you've done. So we're gonna go ahead and start on the questions. I want to pass the microphone over to my teammate over here, Emilia. Emilia, go ahead.
Good evening, Ms. Arambula. So, the first question, can you tell us about your childhood? How does that experience inspire you to become a teacher?
Okay. Actually, if I want to be really honest, I didn't want to become a teacher because both of my parents are teachers. So I knew since I was little how hard it is for kids to grow up with teacher parents. You know, they're never with you. They have to be always in the festivals, meetings. After work, they have to be doing grades. They have to be grading papers. So I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher. So I live in the States I did my high school in the States. Whenever I came back, I started working as a teacher. They hired me to teach English because I knew English. But I wanted to study psychology. And then I did semester zero in psychology. Whenever I was there, my boss told me that if I wanted to keep the job, I had to quit that school and enroll Escuela de Lenguas. And I was like, no. Then I talked to my parents and they say, yes, you're quitting that school and you're going to Escuela de Lenguas. I don't know if you know Miss Roxana Cano. She talked to me and then she said, you have the profile to be here. So she convinced me and then I started studying that career. And I didn't like it that much because of all the perceptions that I had from my parents. But whenever I start my practices and the first kid called me Miss, that changed something in my mind and then I loved it. Since there, I'm very happy teaching.
So we could say that event in your life was the one that inspired you to become a teacher.
Yeah,
What
that,
was
and
that
then
thing?
whenever, let me tell you another thing. Whenever I live in the States, I was living with one of my aunts, and so my parents were not with me, and sometimes I was feeling very, very alone, and things were difficult because in the school that I was, it was Hispanic community was very low, but my teacher, my ESL teacher, was there for me all the time. So she was the one who inspired me that you have to put a lot of passion. Whenever I was sad, she was used to call me. Whenever I was feeling alone, she used to go and visit to my house, not only in the school, but like going to my house, and that somehow made in me that I wanted to be some like her.
Wow. Well, having to, you told us that you had a lot of experience and you're currently studying, right?
Yes.
So, what has been the most memorable stage you ever had that you will say, I will carry these memories forever?
Okay. Whenever I have been teaching for 16, almost 17 years. But whenever I start working, I had to work whenever shootings were going on here in Durango. And you have to be prepared for if something happened in the school, you had to take care of the kids to know how to react whenever that happened. And I remember one time we were after lunch, and then very close to the school that I was working, there was a shooting, and I had to take care of the kids. I was like fearing very hard. I was very afraid. It was shocking, but then you don't think about yourself. You think about their kids' lives. So whenever I was in there, I was taking care of the kids. We were going under the tables and everything, and then whenever that passed, I just realized how deep I love my job, that I never thought about me. I thought about how the kids were.
Wow. I'm sorry, I got shocked.
Life is hard.
But yeah. So, damn, I'm sorry. It was quite an experience.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. And outside the classroom, what other experiences have contributed to your development as an educator?
Mm, uh, I used to be a youth leader in my church group. So since I was maybe 16 or 17, I started working with a lot of teenagers and people. They were my age, but I think I developed many of the skills that I now apply in the classroom working with teenagers. So it was like going to campings, organizing the camps, the programs, organizing the church programs with the topics and everything for the other leaders to teach them and everything. So I think my calling started back then whenever I was being the leader of that group.
So the leadership has always been with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite nice. What are your future professional goals and how do you plan to achieve them in the field of the education?
Well, right now, I'm going through a very tough stage in my life because I'm starting the doctorate, and it's quite difficult, quite demanding, and I'm doing that. But also, I'm a mother of two little kids, so it's very hard to be a mom and studying at the same time because the demand of this how can I say, of this stage of my preparation is very hard. It's very demanding. You have to be reading a lot. You have to be um, studying and studying and studying and studying. So right now, this is my goal. I hope that I can achieve it to finish the program, and I'm focusing on that and and being a mom because also I'm teaching my kids. So it's kind of tough doing both.
It must be quite a challenge to handle both sides of your life and becoming one with them.
Yeah, it is.
Well, it is all from my part. I'm passing the microphone to my classmates.
Hi, Miss. My name
Hi.
is Estelle. And the first question for you for my part is, do you find any differences between the learning environments in your country and those abroad?
Yes, big time. Korean culture, for example, is very respectful on the authority of a teacher. Most likely, the teacher has all the power, all the knowledge, everything. So in here, we are very open on that. Like if you had a doubt, you ask the teacher. If you think the teacher is not doing or saying anything correct, you have the freedom to tell them. I think that it's not like that. I think it's like this, but in Korea, it's not like that. The teacher is the only authority. And then I remember whenever I was studying, I I'm very talkative and I'm very participative. So the teacher was asking politely if you had any questions, or if you had any doubt. I was always asking and asking and asking. And he was my teacher of anthropology. And then one time he put me as an example, and he was talking about differences between cultures. And then he say, "Do you see how Anna is always asking questions, and we never do that in Korea?" And I was like, "Oh." So yeah, I was like, I was doing it wrong the whole time. But it was the way that I was used to do things, and I learned. But yeah, it's very different. Then over there also, the students are always competing between each other, like who has the best grades, because they're going to go out to a field in which they're going to be competing to get the best job. It's not that they are mean or something like that. They are raised that way. So it's very difficult. Like me, I used to work a lot in teamwork, and whenever I went there, I had to be lonely because it was not allowed to be like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting the Korean culture because it's really, really different from here. And it's so nice to hear your experience. So the next question is, what learning strategies were useful to you in your country, but not so much when you apply them with your foreign students?
Student center, I do a lot of student center teaching. Well, I think most of it is student center methods that I use. And over there is no, it's always only one person. Community learning also, like I like to involve topics that are related to the community, that are related to their daily life. And over there is no, it's very theoretical, it's very um, demanding just for one to be individual. They're very individualist.
Okay, so the next question is, why do you think it's important to know about different learning styles?
Because whenever you have all the options, it's easier for you to adapt to the profile of your class. If you don't know how, it's like whenever you're cooking and you have many ingredients, and maybe you have a visit and that visit doesn't like many of the ingredients you have options still to give and feed that person. So that's the same thing with knowing that your approaches, your methodology, whenever your class profile is different from the ones that you have taught before, you have something to give to feed them. So that's why it is very important.
Okay, the next question is, how was your adoption process to the educational system of the country in which you taught?
It was very hard because I used to be very like people, like going, always being around people, and so it was hard for me, like being lonely there, because still even though I traveled by myself and I was the only Mexican on that on my career on that university, I got friends, Spanish people from Argentina, different places. But whenever it came to classes, I had to be doing everything by myself all the time, and it was hard.
Yeah, it's really hard to be like only you. My last question is, how do your experience influence you as a teacher, and what skills did you develop?
I think that I wanted my students to know about more than the language, my culture, more than learning like grammar structures, to learning how rich our culture is on not only language but the way that we behave, the way we act, and so. I had to apply many activities in which they were like very challenge because they're very quiet. So I was like, we are going to act this soap opera, Marimar, and they were like, what? And then I put them to act and all that, and they were like very shocked. But I believe they developed many skills they never thought they will develop in my class.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss.
You're welcome.
All right, Miss. So I also have a few questions that are somewhat culture related too. In the last question, you said that you sort of integrated, how could you say, activities that were not known by their culture. So, how, in a bit more specific, how could you integrate some elements of the Mexican culture into your teaching practice in order to enrich learning?
Um, whenever you involve, well, I always tell my students, if your class doesn't have your personality, then it's not your class. So you have to always put some of your personality in whatever you're teaching. The way that you talk, the way that you treat people, the way that even your background, what you have done, things like those. So I couldn't teach them Spanish without letting them know how my country is and how I am in the food and everything. So I used to use a lot of their information to compare to a lot of their culture and compare to my culture. So like they eat a lot of spicy food too. So I had there a topic. So I used to teach them which kind of chilies do you have? This one and that one. That one is the most hottest one. This one and that one. Okay, now with it. So I can teach superlatives. So I have to think uh, what is related to me that connects with them. So I use them, and then I used to develop grammar structures from there.
Yeah, that's very interesting how you have to connect them. You have to know a bit. Well, you know a lot of Mexican culture, but you also have to know a lot about their culture in order to put them together. So that is very interesting. The next question would be, what role do Mexican traditions and values play in the development of students' identity within the classroom?
I think that's a very important point to touch in there. I used to teach for the embassy. We had a program, it's not active anymore, or for now in Facultad de Lenguas, but it's a program called Access. Those are scholarships for students that are very with low income that couldn't take English classes, so that the embassy paid for them to take English for 2 years, and they pay also for all the supplies they need, school supplies, uniforms, and everything. So our job in that program, it was for them to develop their own identity and then compare with the American culture, for example, in this case. So you always have to think that you cannot teach another language. You cannot talk about their other culture whenever you don't know your own culture. So whenever we talk about, for example, holidays like 20 de noviembre, or the independence, you cannot teach them about 4th of July if you don't know what happened, who was involved in your own. So in order to teach something else, you have to have your identity always developed. So that was our point. You we have to always make sure that they understand that you cannot be multicultural if you don't know about yourself first.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The last question is: do you think educational approach in Mexico is aligned with the cultural needs of the country? And what aspects should be improved in your point of view?
I think that whenever you talk about the approaches are going to give you the theory, but you have to decide how deep you go on using that approach. So it won't depend on the theory of having this approach and then I use it in class. You have to, if you have to make an impact on your student, you have to go deep on whatever you do. It's not that you only teach a topic and it's like superficial. You have to go deep so that it makes an impact on your students. So I think the educational system in Mexico is not as it should be, but it won't depend uh, on the system if your students learn or not. It will depend on you. So it's not the government job, it's our job to make an impact on our students.
Yeah, I think that it is also very important the way that a teacher is teaching. It's sort of the tool or the intermediate tool from learning and the student itself. So I think that that is very, very important. That's all for me. I pass the microphone to Sebastian.
Okay, thank you, Jose, and also thank you, Miss, for answering these questions. I also have
My pleasure.
some questions like my classmates, and
Okay.
well, I know that like teaching abroad, like in another country or something like that, sounds like a dream. I mean, it's amazing. I've always had this dream since I was like a kid of traveling and all that stuff. And so that leads us to my next question. Well,
Okay.
I know that everything like that sounds like a dream, but I also like to recognize like the dark side of the things. You know, like we have to be realist. So my question is, how do you think your Mexican identity influences your perspective when interacting with other cultures? Like, for example, there hasn't been any like inconveniences or maybe like these stigmas that you're like Mexican and other people, I don't know, maybe have different uh, thoughts about you or your persona.
Yes, and actually, that in Korea is very marked, because people in Korea they seem that or it's not. It's a cultural demand for them to be super pretty, to be super white, to be super skinny, to be super young. And so whenever you go there and you are not super white, you're not super skinny, you're not, all of that is like they see you as the ugly duckling in there. So, um, but I believe, whenever I started teaching Spanish in there, and I was working with my students, and they learn to see more than the outside, the inside. Because I used to, like in my classes, give them Mexican candy, show them videos about charreria, how we used to celebrate things and all that. They start to see beyond. Of course, the stigma is going to be there because later on, at the beginning, they didn't want to take pictures with me. It was like kind of awkward because it was not common for them. Not because I was maybe the ugly duckling, but because it was not for them common that foreigner was so comfortable with them, inviting them to do, let's do this, let's have this, let's sing that, let's that. So later on they were very nice with me. They were inviting me to go out to have dinner with them and everything. So I think you have to make people change their mind by the way that you act.
Exactly, because like you're representing Mexicans in well the place you are. For example, like you said, Korea, and well, so you're kind of like saying that they had maybe a little bit of trouble like getting adapted to it at first, but then it turned out pretty well, right? That's amazing to hear.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. For my next question, I have it's this one. What aspects of foreign cultures have surprised or impacted you the most since you've been living and working outside of Mexico?
Well, whenever I was in Korea, it make an impact on me how couples, like sentimental couples, act. They don't hold hands in public, they don't kiss in public. So for me, it was like, wait, what? You know, they dress like they twin. in their dressing, but they don't show feelings in front of people. So that was shocking for me. That was like, oh, but it's nice at the same time, like you protect your relationship and no one has to know that you're dating someone. I mean, you realize because they dress the same, the same way, the same colors, but it's not that you're showing off that you're dating someone. I like that a lot. And another, I had also the chance to travel to uh, Jordan, and over there they still sell the girls. So whenever I was there, they used to tell me that I looked like the girls in there, and they were asking me why I was dressing the way that I was dressing. And I was not dressing like in a provocative way or anything. I was dressing like the normal way that I dressed, but girls don't dress like that. And they were like getting to the oldest person that he was in the group that we were traveling, and they were asking that person how much will he willing to receive if he could sell me to them. So that was very shocking because we went to Petra, and I couldn't enjoy anything. I was afraid the whole time. I was feeling like someone was following me, or someone was looking at me. Or it was horrible for me. And I dreamed or going to that place, and I didn't enjoy because of the way people behave in there.
What a bummer. I really feel sorry for you and having to experience that. So you could tell that, well, and those other countries are like reserved, right? Or maybe like a lot more modest or demure, or like maybe they still have this taboo or something like that with dressing and stuff, right? That's kind
Yeah,
of disappointing. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to look uh, at reality, be realist, because that still happens in the world. It's not like,
yeah.
yeah,
And it makes you to feel grateful for what you have in your country. So many people from other countries, they always say in Mexico they're very machistas. It's horrible to be a girl, but then you realize it's horrible. It's more horrible in other places to be a girl. So you know that you have to conform, but you feel grateful that you don't live the experiences other girls live in other parts of the world.
absolutely. Maybe we're like a little more privileged than other people around the world. So yeah, we should be grateful about that. Of course, there's things that we'll still need to improve here in Mexico, but yeah, I think we're in a safe place. Um,
Yes.
well, then my next question is, how do you integrate cultural learning in your English classes so that students better understand not only the language but also the cultural context?
I will say that the first classes that I teach, I like to make a rapport with my students so I get to know what they like. What are the likes, the dislikes, everything related to their age. So I try to connect whatever they like to my culture, so I can connect something that they enjoy so that they can learn better.
Yeah, okay, I completely agree. And for my last question, I have this one. How do you manage cultural differences in classroom, especially regarding like social norms, values, or educational expectations? Because of course you know that even here in Mexico, that we are like part of the same culture. Sometimes we have differences in like maybe religion, sexual orientation, skin tone, color, all that stuff. You know, stigmas and stuff. So I can't even imagine being in another country and having to deal with the cultural differences. How do you do it?
I loved to make my students to be critical and to analyze stuff. So the way that I like for them to learn English through critical is use realia. A lot of maybe articles, information that they is happening in their country that sometimes we don't even realize that happened. Like I remember in one class, but here in Mexico, I was showing them not red, pink crosses from Ciudad Juarez, and they didn't know what those meant. And I was like, do you know what happened in Juarez? Why they have those pink crosses? No, miss. So whenever you start thinking about what happened in your history, in your country, in your community, uh, they are they get interest to investigate, to research, to know more, and then that's the way that unconsciously they learn the language.
But for example, like you said, and what happened to you in Petra, like the women were dressed completely covered. I imagine. How did you manage to like surpass those differences? Like for example, you tell me that you kind of like got confused with a local in there
Uh-huh.
because the way you look, but, and
Uh-huh.
then you were dressed like normal, like you used to, like, but not in the way
Hmm.
they have to dress, right? So how do you deal with those differences? What did you do about it?
I think with those situations, you just have to be very open mind. It's not about them, it's about you. You cannot go, travel, visit, and change their culture. You have to adapt. You have to immerse in their culture. Maybe I will never, because it's not my religion or my traditions to dress like that. But then I have to find a way to make people understand that I'm an foreigner, and but I have to put myself in the shoes. I mean, it's not whenever that happens and you go and immerse to another culture, it's not their problem, it's your problem. You have to be humble, and you have to understand why they behave the way that they behave, and you have to adapt somehow the most that you can to their culture.
Okay, well, that really made my mind a lot clearer to understand better these questions that I have for you. So, thank you so much for answering them. Last but not least, my friend Carlos is going to ask you some questions too.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, teacher. I gotta say,
Hello, Carlos.
honestly, I feel a little insecure about my questions. Because, my teammates have basically asked, what you can call the cream of the crop when it comes to the questions. Like, they've really been asking the important things. And, like, they gave us, like, a little list of things that we have to fill out. And, one of them was, about Mexican culture, about how it clashes with other cultures. But the one thing that I personally didn't like that they had to make us ask a question about was actually my question. See, because my question is related to environmental education, which is
Okay.
the whole thing of take care of the world, what's going on with the world, ways to take care of it. So really, my question, I guess, really boils down to of all the places you've been, uh, have you really seen? I don't know if they teach that specific subject or maybe like a variation of that subject, but I really just I do just wonder, like, have you really seen a change in your students attitude towards the subject and like the things they teach? Like, do they have a bigger conscious towards helping the world? Are they more aware of all the problems that are going on, or do they just treat it as sort of like from what you've seen, do they sort of treat it just like a filler class that is like, oh my god, I don't well, we gotta go there, we gotta fill it out, gotta fill out my grades? So I don't know
Mhm.
how has it been for you?
I think the best way you have to teach, the best methodology and the best approach is to teach with an example, being you the example. And I had a cultural shock whenever I live in Korea because it's a super clean city. Super. I mean, you don't imagine how clean that city is. You don't see nothing on the streets. You don't see, it's a super clean place. It's a super secure place. So whenever you tell your students, why don't we implement this that I live in, I know it can happen, your students can be like, claro que no, miss. Yes. And then I show them pictures and I show how the place was. They go like, it's possible. So I think whenever you tell them, it's not because I dream of that. It's because I think we can do it. Whenever you tell them there are places and I have the proof and I have lived in there, they feel a little bit more engaged to achieve um, those activities in which you can improve the conditions in which we live.
Definitely, I do agree with you on that one. I'm personally working towards changing my own attitude, because let me tell you, ever since we started this semester with this environmental education class, frankly, I'm falling asleep on it every single time. But it's awesome to hear that they do take it seriously, way more seriously over there. Like, I couldn't imagine what they reacted to. You showing them, I don't know, a picture of a random street in Mexico. Probably puked on the floor right there. No,
Yeah.
probably not. But really, that really just boils down to my questions. Like my friend over there, Sebastian, said, I was the last, not the least important, but I was surely the last. So I think, we could start with a little, some, not really some, just conclusion, really, just, some comments. I think, I don't know if any of my teammates want to say like a specific comment about anything. Personally, I truly do thank you, teacher, for being here and hearing everything that's been going on in your life. My God, it has been amazing. Do you have a Wikipedia page? You should.
No, I don't, but I just want to tell you, like, if you wanna make an impact, take the challenge. If you wanna live new things, take the challenge. I was in your shoes 12 years ago, and I decide to apply for mobility. I decide to high up my English level. I decide to take a certification. I decide to want to apply for the program. So we are like me and I 12 years ago, I was the same as you. It's not that I was privileged. I did what I had to do. So if you want to do, you want to make an impact, want to travel, it's up to you.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. At the end of the day, we really are the masters of our own life. So I'm over here, opening up, the area to any of my teammates. Anybody want to make an extra comment towards the
I
teacher?
really wanted to say that it's really, well, I really admire you from everything that you just said. I mean, from like being experiencing a shooting. Well, I mean, it's really shocking all the things that you've been through, and now looking at you and the place that you are, it's just like amazing. It's like you're just a role model for me. You know what I mean? Because I also been
Thank
like
you.
dreaming about traveling or studying abroad. I applied to some universities in the U.S. I also did my research about mobility and all that stuff, and I do see it like as a challenge because it's quite challenging. I'm not gonna say it is. I'm not gonna say it's not. And maybe also like you have to cover the expenses and all the tuitions and all that stuff. You need to apply for scholarships. It's a whole world in there, and you have to
But
put a lot of
Sebastian,
effort.
let me tell you something, okay?
Yeah, please.
Do you know how much I personally spent going to Korea?
Well, I can't even imagine. I will be gladly honored if you could tell me.
0 pesos.
Are you being for
Why?
real? Yeah, tell me why, please.
Because whenever I got my acceptance letter, I start going places, knocking doors, telling them if you help me with money, I can come back and give you a workshop telling your students or the youth how you can impact the world. If you help me with money, I can do this and that and that. And so government, the senator, everything, they start putting money in my cochinito. I didn't pay anything. But like I say, you have a chance. What are you going to do with the chance? I didn't pay like nothing.
That's amazing. I mean, sounds like a dream. Almost unbelievable. Um, I mean, I also think that it's kind of hard to like approach the authorities to like ask for maybe some aids or grants. That's the thing I don't completely understand. Of course, I've been like applying to some scholarships, but I think it's like a tough process. Could you give us some tips about that?
See, if I knew that this diputado was in this event, I used to go to that event to sit and wait until he finished his participation and then approach him. If I knew that the governor it was going to be in his office that day, I was just asking, calling, when is he there? When is he there? When is he there? Well, I will there leave the paper, my acceptance letter, una carta de motivos. I will help with this, that, and that, and that. I mean, it was not an easy job that I was just sitting on my chair waiting for people to bring money. I was knocking and knocking and knocking, and sometimes I was there waiting for hours and nothing happened. And the next day, again and again and again until I got what I needed. And it was not also like they just gave me the money. They were like, for that month, you're going to receive the money. So my parents had to go pick up the money, put it on my bank account so I could receive it in the bank in Seoul. And it was not an easy process, but we were willing.
That's like I said, amazing. Sounds wonderful. I maybe I need to take the risk, you know, step out of my comfort zone and like you said, keep knocking doors, you know, to know in order to open them for me, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, could you say that the key is perseverance?
Yes, and like not getting down by an answer that someone gives you. If that person says no, you have so many other people that can say yes.
Okay, thank you so much for the tip.
My pleasure.
It also it also proves that you're such a trustworthy person.
Thank you. Thank you so
I
much.
I deeply admire you. So thank you too.
Thank you so much. I hope that soon I get the chance to go over there and meet you all guys in person.
I
We,
hope so.
yeah, me too. You sound like a really nice teacher. It will be amazing.
Yeah. Let me
And I
ask
also wanted to say
the
that.
principal.
Oh, amazing! Wow, that's incredible. And I also wanted to say that I love the views back there.
Oh yeah, it's fundadora.
Oh, that's
Uh,
amazing. The trees and all that stuff looks incredible.
yeah. We are in Mestizo in Monterrey. Do you know that? So we have
I didn't know
a lot of,
that. That's amazing.
yeah.
I don't know if any of my classmates will want to share anything else.
Yeah, I would like to, like my classmate said, I have nothing but respect and admiration for the work that you have done, and I also love the way that you merge the Mexican culture into a culture that is on the other side of the globe. That is just admiring to know that that is possible.
You know, guys, you have to be always curious about things. If you are curious, you can make great things in your classrooms, in your practices and everything. Don't just go like, ay, tengo que enseñar este punto gramatical, qué hueva, esto es. No, be curious, be creative, and you're going to flow in there.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you.
I'm literally like taking notes about everything because this is amazing.
Thank you.
All right, well then, that's it, on our comments from all our teammates. Itzel, you don't have anything to say? Just anything to add? Don't worry.
Nothing but thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you. I hope I can be a teacher as great as you are right now.
Oh,
It
thank
was
you,
such
Itzel.
an honor to meet you and to have the chance to speak with you. I'm so thankful with you for your time and for your patience for
No,
everything.
I'm sorry that I didn't answer, but it was
No,
just
no, it's okay.
there
Don't
has been
worry.
crazy weeks, so I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
know
here.
you're always very busy, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Thank
Itzel.
you.
And yes, once again, just to reiterate, thank you so much, teacher, for giving us, honestly, for giving us the privilege of being able to
Oh,
speak to you.
thank you, Carlos. Thank you very much, guys. And I hope, like I said, that I can ask whenever the principal goes there, I can ask so I can go and meet you guys. Okay?
Hey, here's
It was
hoping.
nice talking to you.
So yeah, thank you so much, teacher. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful month. Have a wonderful everything. Until
Thank you.
we see
Same
each
to
other
you.
again.
Okay? I'll see you soon, hopefully.
Bye.
Yeah,
Okay?
bye. Take
Bye
care.
bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, great. Oh, and
Oh, here comes.
okay, bye. All right.
Ya, por
Hey, good
fin.
job, team. Buen trabajo, equipo.
Yo
Ya ahorita
siento que
nos
estuvo
vemos.
bien también, ¿no?
Ahorita ya nada más yo proceso todo este video y luego lo subo a YouTube. Y pues ya, bueno, ya cuando hagan su
No,
reporte, pues
YouTube
ya lo
no.
pueden
¿O
ver
sí?
cuantas veces quieran para hacer su
No.
reporte.
Pero bueno,
¿Qué pasó?
ya estuvo.
Oh, les juro.
Entonces, bueno, nos vemos.
Hey.
Me dio en shock cuando dijo lo del tiroteo. Yo me quedé.
Sí, no, fíjate, la mera neta, yo sí me quedé de que, ay, hijo de su... O sea, me salió de la nada.
Eso sí, me salió muy bien.